PagerDuty's core strengths are infinite flexibility of the platform and incredible reliability. At PagerDuty.org, we believe our technology can be leveraged by nonprofit organizations to help save lives by reaching people faster. In 2020, PagerDuty.org addressed time-critical outcomes in the year of COVID-19 and urgent digital transformation, and leveraged our fund to support 3 healthcare nonprofits. We developed an integrated grant-making model and deployed high-impact funding, technology, and people power, enabling partners to advance equitable time-critical health outcomes. In this session, we'll showcase our pilot pro bono engagement and discuss our nonprofit-centered approach, initial outcomes, and future vision. Please welcome our panelists, Miriam Mohammadi from NextLeaf Analytics, a PagerDuty.org grantee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miriam Mohammadi, a program manager at NextLeaf Analytics, and I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to this conversation. Thanks so much for having me.
And I'd also like to welcome PagerDuty Senior Software Engineer and Pro Bono Technical Lead, Lion Lay.
Hi, everyone. Lion here. Also very excited for this conversation. I think it was a really impactful project, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of our learnings.
Let's dive in. Our pro bono partnership began with deep scoping to understand some of NextLeaf's root challenges, which enabled our team to then develop targeted solutions leveraging our platform. Can you both discuss some of the main outcomes from our engagement? Miriam, let's start with you.
Yes, absolutely. I can start us off. So one of the most meaningful outcomes so far is just how much we've strengthened our iteration and innovation processes. All of the testing and early phase development of use cases for power outage alerts that we've worked on together has really just allowed us to make great strides in our iterative process. So we've been able to, do things like expand our research and discovery on end user preferences, which plays just such a huge role in informing product development and identifying the right solutions for our end users. We've also developed a much deeper understanding of what a more robust notification system could and should look like. And I'd also just like to add that partnering with PagerDuty has really just increased the potential for long-term impact of our work. They've been really committed to making sure the technology meets the needs of healthcare workers and consistently willing to iterate with us, which has already made such a huge difference in the way we approach project implementation. And so far, we've been able to engage biomedical technicians on site who are responsible for power restoration at the health facility, and with PagerDuty's help, are working on setting them up with appropriate power outage alerts that can best serve them. Another significant outcome of our partnership to date is just how much we've learned from each other. By leveraging one another's expertise and exchanging learnings, we've really been able to make progress far more efficiently than we could have done on our own. And the PagerDuty team's support with alert integration and interoperability with our technology has just been invaluable in setting us and the project up for success. And like many nonprofits, we have limited time and resources, but with PagerDuty's proactive team and their hands-on help, we just feel like we're that much closer to accomplishing what we set out to do and doing it much more quickly.
Miriam, it was a pleasure working with you, and I have lots to say about the ease of communication and during this engagement between our two teams. It was, I think, a really good example of two organizations working across two sides and sharing the value that they have to bring. I think I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit in detail about how we use the PagerDuty platform to address the power outages that you're speaking about. So in this engagement, this 2-month engagement, the PagerDuty team that I led had 2 goals. So the first of which was the incident response component of it. So we wanted to improve the response to power outages in these health clinics. And we did so by sharing our knowledge and tools with NextLeaf, primarily with a configured PagerDuty instance, as well as ensuring that we were putting them up in a position to self-serve after our 2-month engagement was over. The second component was quantifying and demonstrating the impact of these power outages to these healthcare centers. So we wanted to enable a better understanding of the problem space with data to be able to tell the story of impact of these power outages on human health. So this will hopefully help NextLeaf advocate for more resources in this problem space and bring awareness in general. I know there's going to be people on the call who are PagerDuty users, so I'll go into detail about how we used the platform for these two use cases. So for the incident response component, we're working with a pilot of 15 health clinics in Kenya, each with their own dedicated responder. Clinics frequently experience unscheduled power outages that are resolved through powering up a backup generator if one exists, or escalating to the power company. So our goal was to notify the biomed responder for the clinic whenever there was an outage and to initiate that response process as quickly as possible. So NextLeaf already has developed a power monitoring hardware solution that's a follow-on from some of their cold chain monitoring work that they've done and had success with. So our data source for PagerDuty then was drawn from those hardware devices, making this a fundamentally IoT or Internet of Things implementation. Going into detail of that implementation, fairly simple configuration. One power monitoring device on site would report the power information to NextLeaf systems, and then that would come over to PagerDuty every 5 minutes to trigger outages. If an outage was reported, then that would be reported to our events API and trigger an incident in the PagerDuty system. So because outages affected the entire clinic, we used a single PagerDuty service to represent that clinic. And since there was only one responder per clinic, we didn't use any schedules, just fairly straightforward one-to-one mapping there. For the analytics portion of it, this portion will come into play in a few months from now as NextLeaf is evaluating the success of this program, but I'll give a quick overview of what analytics tools and pre-generated reports we've used. So first, for getting an understanding of how individual clinics were performing over time, we've set up the service level system report, and we can get a view of high urgency incidents over time for that location, as well as the mean time to resolve. And if more responders are brought on, we can look at the user level system report as well. We also use some of the pre-built reports, specifically the team on-call handoff, to capture and improve on alert fatigue and responder well-being. Other options here in these reports would be looking at the average duration of outages through the service and business response, as well as getting insight into improvement over time in those locations. There are many more analytics tools available. So I'm hoping that as NextLeaf comes up with more research questions in their work, that they'll find that they have a suite of tools already available to them in PagerDuty.
Thank you so much, both of you, for that kind of depth of understanding. What really inspires me about this partnership is that, the teams really understood each other's, knowledge areas and shared out such a richness of understanding. And it's incredibly inspiring to see the shared values of our organizations really come through. The PagerDuty and NextLeaf teams have developed a strong working relationship and built on trust and responsiveness. And I'm really curious, can you both discuss the benefits of cross-sector collaboration and building an integrated team that delivers on impact?
Yeah, thanks, Nisha. It has truly been such a rewarding experience to work so closely with PagerDuty. It's extremely impactful for a donor to really understand, who we are, what we do, our mission, and our goals at NextLeaf, because having that deeper alignment is essential to effective collaboration. In our experience, when a donor or partner genuinely understands the problem we're addressing and the barriers that we have to overcome, that's when we can deliver real, true impact on the ground. And working shoulder to shoulder is actually one of NextLeaf's core values. So we immediately felt aligned with PagerDuty and their emphasis on working as a team and building strong bonds. There are a lot of values our organizations share, actually, like an enthusiasm for relentless learning and iterating, a commitment to putting our users and their needs first, and a focus on achieving impact. And so that really just cemented the strength of our partnership. And then not only that, but the holistic approach PagerDuty uses in providing support to their partners with not only funding, but human resources and then backing that up by with innovative technology just really allows us to build on each other's strengths. So for example, the team we worked with included PagerDuty's data scientists, engineers, and their customer discovery team. And that specific and very unique combination of resources and support is just critical to our success in realizing our vision, because it not only enables us to, it enables us to learn and iterate so much more efficiently. And we all know that, monetary funds alone cannot substitute the power of having innovative tools, really active engagement and thought partnership available, especially as it comes to early phase pilot projects where deep learning and co-creation is necessary to achieve our common goals of impact.
Love that sentiment. I totally agree that the sort of co-creation of these projects is key, and that finding a way to work efficiently on two sides of the project is definitely necessary for success. A big takeaway for me was the importance of enabling our partner. So from a position of coming from private industry and trying to enable a not-for-profit or nonprofit partner doing human impactful work. When you agree to take on a pro bono project, your partner is relying on you. You have a shared responsibility for your partner's success and its impact, and it's important to take that seriously. So throughout this engagement, my team kept by some key principles, primarily prioritize knowledge sharing and tool sharing, and instead of black boxes. So in any fixed term engagement, you want to make sure that your partner can build on the work that you've done. And we would not be accomplishing our goal of serving Nextleaf if we had built a bespoke solution that could not be easily maintained or built upon by a Nextleaf after the engagement. The second component I would call out is minimizing communication and administration overhead. It's collaboration comes at a cost. It's always a risk. And clear and concise communications can really eliminate that cost. So at the beginning of our engagement with Nextleaf, we had both teams sit down and hash out what platform we're going to use for asynchronous communication, for video calls, where are we going to put our documentation, how are we going to work together in the most efficient way possible. And then extending on that, making sure that the PagerDuty team was available to answer questions and unblock and get work done in a timely manner, so that we weren't tripping up Nextleaf's internal processes. So at least at most 24 hours for a request, and faster if possible. And then following up on that, the 2-month engagement is over, but we do and hope to provide continued support until Nextleaf pilot is complete. And so this would just be to help with follow-on actions or answer key questions with technical support. And we also have follow-on meetings scheduled near the end of their pilot.
Thank you both so much for that depth of explanation. I think it's so important to see the kind of really richness of our partnership come through as you both speak about your engagement together. And during this program, I've learned so much about the complexities, yet also the extension of our platform and what kinds of things you're able to apply PagerDuty to. And I've also learned so much about teams, about our teams. I've also learned so much from our teams about the possibility of creating real long-term impact when cross-sector teams deeply collaborate and work together towards a shared vision. So can you both share some of your key learnings from the partnership so far? Lion, let's start with you.
Certainly. I totally resonate with the deep collaboration component of that. My takeaway from this engagement was, really a reinforcement that collaboration is key, specifically, of availability and timely and clear and concise communication, especially during relatively short-term partnerships like this one. When entering a cross-team or a cross-organization collaboration, I'm not so worried about the value that each party has to bring to the table. That's usually been proven beforehand. But rather the risk is the execution on sharing that value across the table, as well as ensuring we're not adding too much administrative or communication overhead, like I mentioned before. The other takeaway for me is that, and this one gets me really excited, is that it is possible for a private tech company that's not explicitly focused on a socially impactful market segment to effectively contribute to a socially impactful effort. Often, in my personal experience, I find companies in this category of the sector don't have much experience working with or selling to not-for-profit organizations and end up bending over backwards to find creative ways to contribute philanthropically. And I think that this partnership with Nextleaf was a great example of the first step that companies should make towards contributing philanthropically. That low-hanging fruit is to use the value that the company already has built and proven in the market. That could be a product or a service, and provide that value to the organizations that need it. So that said, I think that the engagement with Nextleaf has been a great proof of that value. And I'm very proud that PagerDuty is piloting and developing this pro bono program. And I'll be watching the continued rollout of Nextleaf's program, hoping that our technology can help scale this power monitoring solution beyond just a pilot and maybe to other program areas as well. So over to you, Miriam.
Thanks, Lion. Yeah, I just want to echo you here. I can't emphasize enough how valuable it was to have your team so readily available and just willing to help us at every turn. You've been incredibly instrumental in rallying the troops to help with our early thinking, with pushing things forward. And I just can't count how many times that you personally, Lion, for example, especially at the beginning stages, messaged us on Slack to do what you were mentioning there, streamlining our communications. You were following up on action items to help us get unstuck, and also drove the impromptu brainstorm sessions and ideation sessions. And one of the most critical learnings for us so far has been around the unknowns and limitations of our own products and work. So how we think about alerts and solutions and more effective iterations of our tech, because we don't have a ton of experience in best practices around alert escalation policies. So we found it incredibly valuable to just hear from the PagerDuty team on what you all have learned through years of experience and figuring out what is applicable to our work in health facilities in Kenya to ensure the alerts work for the healthcare workers who need them. And I think that's an exchange, learning exchange as well, because as you mentioned, using the technology in this context may be different in another context. So it's really cool to be able to collaborate and exchange that information with one another. And another lesson that was reinforced through our partnership is the importance of bringing in diverse perspectives when tackling a complex challenge such as this. So when embarking on a new project, it's really crucial to allow space for that co-creation process where partners can really problem solve together and bounce ideas around that perhaps wouldn't have come up to the surface otherwise. And that sort of back and forth and collaboration, I feel has truly optimized the project approach as a whole.
I love that. Diverse perspectives really do empower a program and partnership to generate deeper impact. And that's so important, such a critical takeaway from this program. And I hope to continue, doing that, bringing together these diverse voices and cross collaboration across different sectors to kind of understand the next level of how we can collaborate more deeply and learn from each other. It's so critical. And as we kind of move on to, towards the end of our engagement together and think about the future, as Nextleaf continues to collect data, this critical information can advocate for better responses and solutions to power outages. And over the next few months, you'll continue to test alerts with the ultimate goal to increase power and monitor outages across healthcare facilities in Kenya. What could the future look like to you, Miriam?
Yeah, thanks, Nisha. I really like that question. It's a really important one. So I'm really excited for where this project can take us. First and foremost, we hope this work leads to, effective power outage alerts that, along with actionable analytics, can serve health workers to take those actions that can increase facility uptime, improve equipment performance, and ultimately save more lives. And beyond the COVID hotspots in Kenya, where we're currently piloting the work, the ultimate goal is to develop a strong use case for this data that we can present to the Ministry of Health and other key sector stakeholders, and really figure out how we can expand this response system to the 17,000 health facilities across the world where our devices are currently in use. And right now, we have devices deployed in cold rooms. I know Lion alluded to it earlier, in low to middle income countries to monitor vaccine fridges. And when the fridge goes out of the safe temperature zone for vaccines, our tech sends an SMS alert to the nurse so that they can make quick decisions to move vaccines to a safer location. However, we discovered that there's great potential in exploring how we can use and build on these types of alerts to also monitor power availability at large. And so what many people don't realize is that even though health facilities often have backup power generators, those generators and backup mechanisms can also fail. And we've seen photos and heard firsthand stories of, doctors and nurses doing critical surgeries with a flashlight in their mouth. And not only that, but, even a short lapse of power can impact the function of critical life-saving equipment like ventilators and oxygen concentrators, which are really relevant right now. And that image and that thought is just really unacceptable to us. And by implementing power outage alerts in health facilities that reduce response times for power restoration, we can start to address these critical infrastructure gaps and really strengthen health systems overall. So just going back to your main question, the future could look like increased and reliable power availability for health facilities across the globe, improved equipment performance, and ultimately better health outcomes for millions of people. And I just like to add and mention that even if we don't reach direct impact on people's lives in this important initial stage of our work, we're still collecting high quality, reliable data that's laying the foundation for long-term impact, and that we believe will be very valuable in advocating for better, more resilient power infrastructure with the potential to affect many generations to come.
Wow. What a future. Well, I just hope that PagerDuty can support you in that mission and support other organizations doing similarly impactful work. 17,000 healthcare facilities. That's a huge opportunity, let alone all the other program areas that you mentioned. Speaking more, I guess, generally on my side of things, I hope that as software eats the world, that the not-for-profit sector can start to see more of the value provided by technology. I see that working in a few ways. First, as software gains deeper penetration into markets outside of the common, fintech, e-commerce, logistics, et cetera, that we'll see that healthcare, education, environment, et cetera, are getting more adoption and better service by the software industry. Specifically, I'm hoping that software tools in these industries get cheaper and better tailored to individual use cases. And to a large extent, I think this is already happening. But the other thing that I would like to see is that government and donors recognize the value of software in the not-for-profit space, and that they're not afraid of the perceived complexity or cost. Software is definitely culturally still in the process of being adopted by these various sectors. So this area I know less about, but I'm excited to learn more by working with many more not-for-profit partners through the PagerDuty Pro Bono program. And I also hope that philanthropic actors of the tech industry can see the value of Pro Bono, and that PagerDuty can help prove that value through its own work.
Thank you both so much for your reflections. It's been such an immense joy working with you and your teams as we piloted this program. I'm really looking forward to learning about future outcomes as you continue to leverage PagerDuty. Our Pro Bono program will continue to evolve, and we'll continue to deploy our product and people power. And actually next, we'll be focusing on equitable COVID-19 vaccine distribution and access. We will deploy funding, product credits, and technical volunteer support to nonprofits and social enterprises to help scale their time-sensitive work in vaccine information, distribution, and access. The work continues, and pagerduty.org looks forward to being a part of the digital transformation journey alongside our nonprofit partners. Please visit our booth at Summit to learn more. And again, thank you so much to my guests, Miriam and Lion, for joining me today and for this rich discussion. I really appreciate your time and your passion and your energy in our partnership together.
Thank you.